Welcome to the deep dive. We like to get into the nitty-gritty here, and today we've got a topic that's just begging for a closer look. These drone sightings. I mean, seriously, these mysterious drone things popping up all over the place. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, you know?
It really is. It's almost like we've stepped into an episode of The Twilight Zone or something.
Totally. And what's crazy is how fast this whole thing has gone from like a few whispers to full-blown headlines everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, just a few weeks ago, it was just a couple of weird reports out of New Jersey, and now, boom, it's like every other state is buzzing about drones in the sky.
It's spread like wildfires, hasn't it? I mean, it's definitely got everyone talking and wondering what in the world is going on.
Exactly. So for all you listeners out there, we're going to try and unpack this whole drone thing for you. Break it down. Give you the rundown of what we know so far based on all these news articles we've been pouring over. And the best place to start is probably back at the beginning, right? With those first reports in New Jersey. Remember those?
Mhm.
They started popping up mid-November. Most of them clustered around the Raritan River and the Round Valley
Oh,
Reservoir.
yeah, the Round Valley Reservoir. That's a pretty crucial spot, right?
Absolutely. It's a major water source for the whole state. So right off the bat, you got to wonder, what's the deal with these drones hanging out by a key water supply?
It's suspicious, isn't it? I mean, think about it. You're targeting critical infrastructure like that right from the get-go. It definitely raises some eyebrows, makes you think surveillance, sabotage, some kind of test run. Who knows, but it's unsettling for sure.
It really is unsettling. And then the whole thing just exploded. It went from the reservoir to all over the state. We had reports coming in from near military bases like the Picatinny Arsenal, even near President-elect Trump's golf course.
Wow, near Trump's golf course, huh? That's when it really went from like, oh, that's weird, to hold on, this could be serious business.
Exactly. And with all this happening, the official response has been, well, let's just say it's been a little all over the place.
Yeah, it's been a mixed bag, hasn't it? You've got
Yeah.
the FBI saying, yeah, we're looking into it, but they're not giving up much information. I mean, they're not saying where these drones are coming from, who's operating them, or what their purpose is. Heck, they're not even sure if it's one drone or a whole fleet of them working together.
So basically, we've got the FBI on the case, but they're basically saying, we got nothing. Meanwhile, everyone and their mother is trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, seriously, you've got politicians, experts, conspiracy theorists, even your average Joe on the street. They're all tossing around theories. Some are saying it's got to be foreign adversaries like Russia or China, poking and prodding our defenses.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one. They're testing our waters, so to speak.
Right. And then you've got the whole spectrum of ideas.
Yeah.
Everything from top secret government projects to, well, let's just say some folks are getting a little creative with their explanations.
I bet. And that's what happens when you have a void of information, right? Speculation just rushes in to fill the gap.
Totally. But let's stick to what we know, at least for now.
Right, back to the facts.
We've got Congressman Chris Smith out there saying, this could be the work of Russia, China, North Korea. Take your pick. He's definitely not mincing words.
Yeah, he's not. Then on the other hand, you've got the Pentagon straight up denying any involvement. Nope, not our drones, they say.
And then you've got Homeland Security and the FBI saying, hold on, everyone. There's no evidence of a national security threat, no evidence of foreign involvement. So basically, it's a big old mess of we don't know, maybe, and it could be.
It's enough to make your head spin. I mean, where do you even start with all this conflicting information?
It is confusing.
Yeah.
But, hey, at least one thing's crystal clear. This is way bigger than just a New Jersey thing now.
Right.
Right? This whole drone mystery, it's spreading.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like a ripple effect spreading outwards,
Exactly. And that's where things start to get even more interesting.
Or maybe a little more unnerving.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both.
I'd say so.
It's kind of freaky, right? We've got all these high-tech drones buzzing around, and nobody seems to have a clue who's pulling the strings or what they're up to.
It's a bit of a head scratcher for sure. And it's forcing us to really think about how we deal with this whole drone thing.
Yeah.
Like, what are the rules? What are the risks? And how do we protect ourselves without overreacting?
Yeah, it's a tricky balance for sure. It's not like we can just start blasting anything out of the sky that looks a little suspicious, right?
Exactly. I mean, some folks are definitely pushing for a more, let's say, a more aggressive approach.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, you've got Senator Blumenthal and Representative Smith, for example. They're saying, hey, we need to take these drones down, figure out what they are and where they came from.
Take him down, huh? That sounds a little intense.
It does, doesn't it? But they're arguing that it's the only way to get some real answers and, potentially stop something bad from happening.
I can see their point. But then on the other hand, you've got people like Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden who are saying, whoa, hold your horses. Let's not get trigger happy here.
Right. Sheriff Golden's one of those urging cautions.
Yeah.
He's pointing out that, hey, there are laws about airspace and all that. And shooting down a drone could land you in some serious legal hot water.
And not to mention, it could escalate the situation,
Yeah.
turn a mystery into a full-blown
Well,
conflict.
so it's a real dilemma, isn't it? We want to protect ourselves, but we also don't want to overreact and maybe make things worse.
It's like walking a tightrope. And then you've got that whole incident at Logan Airport in Boston. It really brings home how quickly things can go sideways with these drones.
Oh, yeah. That was a close one. Two guys flying their drone way too close to the airport, causing major disruptions.
I remember that. It was all over the news. And it just shows how easily a drone, even a small one, can mess with critical infrastructure. I mean, airports are like the definition of critical infrastructure.
Absolutely. It was a stark reminder that these things aren't just harmless toys anymore.
But hey, at least they caught the guys, right?
They did. And that's actually a pretty important point. The police were able to track those guys down using drone monitoring technology.
So they're getting better at keeping tabs on these things.
Yeah, law enforcement is definitely stepping up their game when it comes to drones. They're using all sorts of tech now to track them, identify the operators, gather evidence, the whole 9 yards.
Well, that's a little reassuring at least. But then you've got New York City jumping into the mix now.
Oh, yeah. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has confirmed that they're looking into drone sightings there, too. And he's made it crystal clear that if you want to fly a drone in the city, you better have a permit.
So no more buzzing around the Empire State Building for kicks, huh?
Not without permission. And New York's response is especially interesting because they've had a front row seat to the kind of chaos these drones can cause. Remember what happened at Stewart International Airport?
Oh, yeah. That was a mess. Drone activity shut down the whole airport for a while. Flights delayed, people stranded, the whole shebang.
It was a major disruption.
Wow.
And it really highlighted the potential for these unidentified drones to mess with air travel, which is obviously a huge concern.
For sure. And didn't that incident lead to some calls for stricter regulations?
It did. Governor Kathy Hochul called for the FAA to step up their oversight of drones and for state and local law enforcement to have more power to investigate these incidents.
So basically, everyone's realizing that we need to get a handle on this drone situation, and fast.
That's right. And this brings up a point we haven't really touched on yet. The laws and regulations around drones, they're kind of struggling to keep up with how fast the technology is changing. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like the rules are being written as we go.
Exactly. We need clearer guidelines, better enforcement, and more cooperation between federal, state, and local authorities. It's a whole tangled web.
So what you're saying is, this whole drone mystery, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's exposing a much bigger problem. It's not just about figuring out who's behind these particular drones. It's about how we deal with this whole technology as it keeps evolving, you know?
I think we've opened Pandora's box, and now we got to figure out how to manage all these little flying robots.
That's a good way to put it. And the choices we make now about how to regulate and control drones, they're going to have a huge impact on our future.
No pressure.
Right. But it's true. And these incidents, they're like a wake-up call. They're forcing us to face the reality that drones are here to stay, and we need to figure out how to live with them safely and responsibly.
And it's not just about these specific sightings anymore. It's about the bigger picture. What happens as drone technology gets even more advanced? What about autonomous drones? Swarms of drones, weaponized drones. It's kind of a lot to think about.
It is. But it's something we need to think about now, because it's not science fiction anymore. This technology is developing rapidly. And we've already seen glimpses of its potential for both good and bad.
So, for all you listeners out there, we've tried to break down what we know about this whole drone situation. The sightings, the official responses, the concerns, the calls for action.
It's a lot to take in, we know that, but it's an important conversation to have. And it's a conversation that's still unfolding.
Exactly. This is just the beginning of the story. But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
We're at a crossroads. The drone revolution is here. And the choices we make now are going to shape what that revolution looks like.
Well said. And it's not just up to governments and experts, it's up to all of us.
That's a great point to end on. So to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Keep your eyes on the skies and your minds open. And we'll see you next time.
It's wild, right? It's like we blinked and suddenly drones are everywhere. We're still playing catch up, trying to figure out what it all means. Yeah, it feels like we've gone from, drones being this cool little gadget to, whoa, wait a minute, these things could be a real problem.
Exactly. And what's really tripping me out is how this whole thing is showing us that we're not just behind on the rules and regulations, we're behind on understanding the technology itself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. That incident at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, they had to shut down their entire airspace because of drones.
Crazy, right? How do you even do that?
That's the thing. Whoever was controlling those drones had to bypass some serious security measures. We're not talking about some amateur hour operation here. This was sophisticated stuff.
So you're saying these drone sightings could be a sign that the technology is even more advanced than we thought.
It's definitely a possibility, and if that's true, then the implications are pretty huge, right? Think about it. Artificial intelligence, autonomous drones, swarms of drones. The tech is evolving so fast, and it's not always clear where the limits are.
Okay, now I'm officially freaked out. It's like we're stepping into some sci-fi movie and we don't even know the rules yet.
That's a pretty good analogy, and that's exactly why it's so important to be having these conversations. We need to be informed, we need to think critically about this stuff, and we need to demand transparency from the people who are building and using this technology.
So what can our listeners do? I mean, it feels like such a massive issue. Where do you even start?
Well, I think the first step is just awareness. Pay attention to what's happening, read about these incidents, and ask questions. Don't just take the official word for it, do your own digging, explore different perspectives, and come to your own conclusions.
Good advice. Be curious, be skeptical, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. And remember, your voice matters. Talk to your friends and family about this stuff, engage with your elected officials, demand accountability. The future of drone technology is being shaped right now, and we all have a role to play in making sure it's a future we can live with.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of mysterious drones, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final thought. These sightings, they're just the tip of the iceberg. They're a glimpse into a future that's coming at us fast. A future where drones are going to be a much bigger part of our lives. And whether that future is good or bad depends on the choices we make today.
Well said. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious. The drone revolution is here, and it's up to all of us to shape its course.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your minds open.